Hey everybody, I am Cappi Pidwell. Welcome to my YouTube Live. And today I'm going to talk about the real truth about your money mindset. And we're going to expose some of the myths, some of the facts, and really help you get clear on how to explore your money mindset, how to master yourself. I was speaking at an event today, and it just blows me away that people don't really understand that everything within how you feel, how you think, the things you say to yourself about the market, money, sales, investments, whatever financial thing you're thinking of, it is constantly happening inside of you. So, we're going to talk about those myths, break them up for you. And this is just episode 1. So, I'm going to do a series of 5 for this whole series. So, get a pen and paper. I'll suggest some links below that you can certainly get some of my free tips. But again, I just want to guide you and coach you and jump into today's topic. So let's really look at the truth, the real truth about your money mindset, and let's expose it. Okay. So for those of you that don't know me, I am Cappi Pidwell. I'm a master of hypnotherapy and neurolinguistic programming, and I do subconscious rewiring. I often say, don't just get inspired. Don't just get a bunch of information and keep trying to pile information on top of old belief systems. You really need to rewire your subconscious mind to get rapid outcomes, to change things outside of your world really does begin within you. I have been doing this for 29 years now. I speak all over to real estate agents, to sales professionals, to, conferences, women in business, that type of thing, to really help people completely transform their finances. And because I've done this for so long, and I did it for myself, and it took me many years to accomplish that myself as a single mom, a business owner, I really know the intricate parts of the subconscious and how to get you new outcomes. And I'll give you a secret. It's not just by working harder. And so many people think, oh, if I do this, then I'm going to get that. And then they go out, maybe they get a new job, or if they're a realtor, they go to a new brokerage office thinking the answer is going to always be outside of themselves. But guess what? You bring yourself to the party everywhere you go. So when I start helping people rewire their subconscious patterns, which, by the way, most people don't even know they have them, and that is exactly what we're going to talk about today in this episode 1. Okay. So let's talk about the hidden parts that, again, people aren't teaching you. A lot of things you're hearing and learning are like visualization, do a vision board, do affirmations. I know that was kind of what I was told too before I learned all this stuff. And I think it's very interesting that, you can watch affirmations and money and go, oh my God, that'd be so nice. But I feel like that is something that keeps it outside of you. It's almost more of a wish or I dream. Have a lack consciousness, which we're going to talk about in episode 2. And it's very hard to manifest more money out of that. And again, I'll elaborate more on your personal consciousness. But let's start out with today of really uncovering and exposing the steps for you to get the outcomes you want. So number 1 is you have to understand that you have a subconscious financial identity, let's call it. Okay. So you have all these beliefs and pictures and emotions that were formed early in your childhood. So for instance, I'll tell you my story. I'm the 5th of 6 kids, and we moved a lot. And the message in my family was, we don't have the money. We don't have the time. We don't have the money, which they didn't, right? That was my parents doing the best they could at the time with 6 kids, growing up with lots of kids and lots of busy stuff. So it's not a good, bad, right, or wrong thing. It's just what were the ingredients, if you will, that got put into my bowl, what got put into your bowl, if you will. And again, this happens through repeated emotional experiences. So I could hear one of my parents say, oh my God, how are we going to pay for that? Or they're stressed over money. And maybe I didn't even hear it, but maybe I felt it, but I did hear it. Maybe you did or didn't. It doesn't matter. It's just understanding that just like if you were learning to play the piano every day and you practice the piano, you would get good over it. Well, if you practice lack, if you learned stress, if you learned there's not enough, That is the program right here in the location inside of you. So even though you're going to watch a video or do an affirmation, your money mindset, your money identity isn't of those millions. And so there's a conflict when you start to do the affirmation, I'm going to be a multimillionaire. And then everything inside of you goes, no way. I don't feel good enough or smart enough and whatever. And I'm here to tell you guys, it's not just education. I know a lot of people who didn't go to college that are multimillionaires. Back in the day, maybe there was more pressure on that, but today there is a freedom in your financial future. But that starts here. So understand that was formed a long time ago, and that's why most people aren't conscious of it. So 95% of all your decisions are automatic, and they're emotional from that past programming. So I want you to write this down if you have a pen and paper. It's super, super powerful. You cannot outperform your internal money identity. So, like I said earlier, you could get a new job, you could move offices, you could try a different strategy, but your bank account will typically look the same until you change your internal money relationship, your internal money beliefs, if you will. So, your subconscious money blueprint or identity, if you will, really dictates how much you earn, how much you keep, how much you save, how much you grow. And again, this is all done in the subconscious. So, because people are trying to logically, like I said, visualize, or, one out of maybe 20 can do that. But I would say the average individual, they might do it for a little while. It might feel good temporarily, but then they're not hitting that number or that goal, and then they kind of forget their goals. And we can simply look at, I'm recording this, today's December 11th, 2025. We can look at New Year's is coming. Everybody sets their goals. And when I go out and speak on, say, January 20th, people have already forgotten about their goals. They're already back into their habitual patterns. So just like gym memberships go way up, right? The first 2 weeks, everyone's at the gym, and week 3 and week 4, our subconscious drives our behaviors. So I want you to think about this. If your subconscious money identity is that of lack, again, you could tell yourself affirmations, but let's say it's set at 50K, 60K, 150K, 400K, 500, 2 million, whatever the number is. The average individual isn't set at 2 million. So you identify for yourself what your money identity pattern is. And you should write that down. What do you typically earn in a year? What do you typically make? What is your average savings account? How much debt do you carry? If you were to really look at this, you would notice that pattern typically repeats. So you might get ahead for a little while, but then if that blueprint says, 100 grand and you start to make more, you'll find that it's so interesting. This is so fascinating, you guys. And remember, this is not conscious. People aren't logically doing this, but they begin to sabotage themselves, or they get close to success, and then you get snapped back into your comfort zone, right? So fear might come in, or somebody might start to get distracted and look at another bunny trail to do something. People get burnt out. Maybe they start spending the money they made and they take the gas pedal off. I see it all the time. So this isn't good, bad, right, or wrong, but that's how powerful your subconscious mind is. So because I do NLP, I do hypnotherapy, I really began finding, working with people one-on-one in my practice years ago, that people would always say, oh, Cappi, if you could help me with this, can you help me make more money? So I kept hearing that, and I was like, I need to start helping people with that. So many years ago, I started creating money mindset programs and products that have changed thousands of lives. But I really had to call and interview people back in the day, of very wealthy people, struggling people. And it was just a really incredible research for me to make the product, to listen to the difference in people's money identity. So it's really powerful. So again, that sabotage will show up like, oh, I fell and got hurt, or I got in a car accident. Like, again, this is not a conscious thing, but it's interesting how it'll end up putting you back into your kind of zone, if you will. And I also want you to know this is not a motivation issue, right? It is a mindset identity issue. And that's really important for you to understand this because you're you're not creating from your goals when you have lack. You're creating from that identity. I really want you to hear that. So if my, as growing up, identity was we don't have the money, and I did hang around with a lot of affluent friends. My friends' dads were doctors, my two closest friends. And I used to compare myself. I was a little kid and they had totally different lifestyle than I did. So it was interesting feeling like I wasn't as good and all those insecurities. We're not telling ourselves those things. That's just how we get wired, right? So again, my quote is don't just get inspired, get rewired, because I had to rewire myself and do this work and understand how the subconscious mind works. And of course, that is the power that we all have the capacity to connect to and to leverage. And I find that so many people don't maximize their subconscious. They go, oh, Cappy, I loved what you said, but, or often people will say, have you heard of blah, blah, blah? There's a lot of people out there doing their thing, their genius, I call it, but I do mine. And I've done it for almost 30 years now. And all my clients have really remarkable results. So there's lots of great people out there. Find somebody who has real results. Find somebody that has programs and proven products that you're going to get the outcome. Is there work involved? Is there a time investment involved? Is there money involved? Of course there is. But everything on my website, if you want to take a look, is literally down from free to $47 to, hundreds of dollars to thousands of dollars. So anywhere you are, there's something there for you. Okay. So remember, you're not creating from your goals, you're creating from your identity. So I want you to take a minute right now and tune into that inner voice. I know this is challenging for a lot of people to do just on the get-go, but I want you to tune in and maybe measure on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, feeling abundant, feeling affluent, feeling prosperous, feeling amazing, confident, all those great things. Kind of rate yourself. Are you a 2 in the area of money? Are you a 6? Are you a 10? Like, where does your money identity fall? And if you can begin to rate yourself and understand what's happening inside of you, then it's much easier to get that awareness, right? And then start to take the steps, which I will teach you in the next 4 episodes. We'll get really specific on those steps. But let's say, for instance, your identity says money is stressful, or wealth is for other people. Mine was, again, hearing there's not enough. So that was my old pattern, right? And what happens when we have these money identities and we're not conscious of them, we're not aware of them. So that's why we're exposing this for you, because it's important that you understand you have this already. You already have your brain wired thinking the way it thinks. And the average individual thinks inside their head at up to 500 words a minute. Now, I don't know where that statistic comes from, but it is, I guess, the average research and statistics that they've done on thinking. Again, I'm not certain how they find those numbers, but obviously different machines and stuff that does that. But that's the average thinker is 500 words a minute. So let's say, I'm going to give you some examples. You walk into the grocery store and you pick something up and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so expensive. Or, which again, is very natural for people, especially in 2025, prices have increased for people. But what if you picked it up and you thought, wow, I have access to this food. There are people that live in other parts of the country right now that don't even have access to that. They can't get it. They would probably pay 5 times more than what you're paying to have that item. And, we live in a universe that is so abundant. It showers us with so many resources, and yet it's in here where the lack lives, right? Oh, this thing. And, you go to the gas station, or I'm just giving you examples. Oh, the prices, or it's like if you think about money all day, every day, which you do, by the way, when you pay a bill, when you make your mortgage, when you, whatever, think about it. Go to lunch with somebody who's picking up the bill. Do you pick it up? Do you wait for them? Do you split it? There's all these things, do you give the minimal tip every single time? All that consciousness is in your head. Okay. This is really hard for people to accept and embrace sometimes when I'm helping them break through their money blocks because they have the reasons to justify why they have the beliefs, if you will. And the bottom line is if you have what you want and you're where you want to be, you probably have really rich money beliefs. You have a really rich relationship, a rich money identity. If you're struggling, if you're maybe at the mid range and you want to break through, you want to reach your peak performance, then that's a different conversation, right? So it's if you don't understand, if you're at a 6 or 7 and you want to get to a 10, again, there's always room for growth, I think, for everybody. Okay. So another thing that people do when they understand their identity, their money identity, is if it's of lack and an opportunity comes up, it's easy to get looked over or passed over. And you're like, why didn't I get that job? Or why didn't I get that promotion? Opportunities that might lead you to financial expansion. Often you don't see them, you're not aligned with them because you're shrinking that money frequency, the money energy. And so even if you consciously want it and you're watching the videos or doing affirmations, but the beliefs and the lack is thick, this is why people stay stuck for years. It's why they don't excel. It's why they constantly complain or think in lack and then want abundance. And just understand that those two things do not match. The work, you guys, is in you. It's in your heart. It's in your head. It's in the things you think all day. And this is a practice. This doesn't happen in a day if you've been wired like that for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, whatever it is. It really is important to understand that your money identity creates your money reality. And you should write that down. Willpower alone is exhausting. It's why people burn out. And I talk to so many people that really have the desire on a scale of 1 to 10, the desire is a 10, but their money identity is a 3 or a 5 or whatever. I hope you're with me. Feel free to make some comments. And even if you're watching this after the live, make some comments. Give me your input because through the series, it might help me add some more information that I love to talk to people about if you have specific questions or, want to get more clarity. Again, this is just really episode 1. We'll get more into deeper details and I'll have you do some more exercises. Okay. So it's important, again, that you identify this. And then where do you want to go? So a lot of people set goals, but remember, they set the goals outside of themselves. I am going to do that in episode 3, helping you get really clear. But the belief and the energy and the emotions have to come first. I hope you hear that. Okay. So if you want to subscribe to my channel, of course, please share this video or want to leave a comment, please do that. Because when I do the next live, we are going to dive into the lack consciousness deeper, really helping you change that to a prosperity mindset. And again, I'm not going to say this is a one and done. It's work. It is through the closing of the eyes, calming the mind. So I love hypnosis so much. Calming the mind, really clearing out all the limiting beliefs. I often say that when we come out of the womb, we're so perfect. We're like little sponges and we are created by the creator in pure perfection. If we're born healthy with all of our, wherewithal and well-being in our body, then it's almost as if I imagine or picture people around us, teachers, parents, siblings, people in our family or whatever. It's almost like they put little sticky notes on us, right? These little sticky notes. And those sticky notes I call your beliefs. They become your beliefs because the parents believe it or the family believes it or the culture believes it or whatever. And then you end up adopting these sticky notes when the reality is you are pure perfection. You were a clean slate when you came here. And it is your job to clear those limitations about yourself starting with identifying your money identity. It's so powerful, you guys. When people start to do this work and they start to identify themselves like, "Oh, I don't see myself as that. I don't feel that. I've always had worry or fear, things don't work out for me or whatever, people tell me, or I barely get by or just pay the bills." There is a practice. There's things that we can do in the subconscious to begin to rewire, rethink. So catch yourself this week until I make the next video. Catch yourself when you go to pick something up at the store. What do you say to yourself? When you get to the cash register and you pay the bill, what are you thinking about? When you go out to lunch, what are you doing or saying or thinking? How much do you tip? Those are good ways to kind of monitor and start to note how you think and feel about money. Okay. It's really, really, really powerful. So when you start understanding your internal money relationship, right? And you understand that that came from other people typically, right? The good news is anything can be reprogrammed, anything. Okay. We can rewire. That's why I say don't get inspired and watch videos and affirmations. We really need to do the rewiring process, right? So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. This is only episode 1. And in episode 2, like I said, we're really going to dive in more on your core. I have to look at episode 2, lack or abundance money mindset. So that is it for today. So again, please subscribe, make a comment, leave a note, and then I'll tune in to do episode 2, and there will be 5 total episodes. So I look forward to empowering you to your soaring success from the inside out. Thanks so much.